And we're back in the studio like we never left. Welcome to the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all for spending some of your Thursday evening here with me in New York. But once again, we're going to skip past all that promotional jazz and get right to the guts of the episode. Another dual, D-U-A-L, not D-U-E-L, another dual entry. This will be cross-referenced in our The Great Movie series. But for people under 40, and for sure under 35 and under 30 especially, this will go in the category of the best movie you've never seen. And this is a film that is very difficult to actually see right now at this very moment, but we can get to that. The movie in question is Ron Howard's significant box office hit, critically praised, nominated for 4 Academy Awards, winning 2, Cocoon. There are certain movies that seek to enlighten us, that seek to make us appreciate life, to impress upon us the importance of getting the most out of life. Life-affirming films. They can be maudlin, they can be preachy, they can talk down to us, they can just leave us feeling as if we've been worked over, that we have been hoodwinked into maybe crying our eyes out at the end with tears and emotion that are not earned. Cocoon is that kind of movie, but gets everything exactly right. And it is a testament to the skill of, at the time, a very young Ron Howard. He was only about probably less than 10 years after Aw Shucks on Happy Days and the Andy Griffith Show. But Ron Howard's direction of this film is immaculate. He was nominated for Best Director. Gwen Verdon was nominated for Supporting Actress, the 2 Oscars. It won Visual Effects. This is the year before Aliens won that Oscar. And it won for Supporting Actor for the late, great Don Amici. But Ron Howard got together an incredible cast. The 3 principals being Don Amici, Hume Cronin, and the Beatus himself, Wilford Brimley, who for not the first time plays a character who is supposed to be decades older than the Beatus was at the time of filming. And there was a lot of laughs a decade or so ago with Paul Rudd when it was realized that at a certain point in time, Paul Rudd was now older than Wilford Brimley was at a certain point in time. And there was actually something you can Google, the Paul Rudd-Wilford Brimley timeline indicator. The fact that such a thing exists, in the immortal words of Mel Brooks in Spaceballs, what a world, what a world. But the amazing cast, you have Massapequa native Steve Guttenberg, who at times almost feels like his character is the lead, but he's not really the lead. But aside from the big hitters in Wilford Brimley, Hume Cronin, and Don Amici, they are matched by the women, Jessica Tandy, who was Hume Cronin's real-life wife, the future Oscar winner for Driving Miss Daisy, Jessica Tandy, Maureen Stapleton, and Gwen Verdon, who, as I said, was nominated for the Best Supporting Actress Oscar. And then you have another actor who passed a little bit before his time, another actor who I would consider to be a cheat code in human form in the magnificent Brian Dennehy. And Brian Dennehy was an actor everyone knew. We knew who he was in the 80s, but a lot of people just couldn't remember his name. He doesn't look like he should be a Brian Dennehy. Like, the name doesn't match. It's Will Smith in Men in Black 3. You don't look like a Kevin, he says to Tommy Lee Jones' Agent K, or what used to be Agent K. I'm just not getting a Kevin vibe from you. Brian Dennehy does not look like his name should be Brian Dennehy, but, well, there it is. That actually was his name. So Cocoon is a film set. It's supposed to be set very close to where my dad's parents, by that point in time, already resided in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's a retirement community. The men and women of the story are retirement age, but they are not so old that they should not be enjoying life, that they should not be allowed to enjoy life. They maybe are not in their primes anymore, but they're allowed to enjoy their fucking time and the time they have left, however much time that is. And this movie is, in some ways, about aging. It is about recapturing youth for however brief that might be. In a way, it is a better version of the Steven Spielberg short movie, which unbelievably is the weakest, in my opinion, of the 4 segments of Twilight Zone movie, which was 3 years earlier. Compare the Spielberg segment of old people in an old folks' home suddenly having the opportunity to be kids again, and what happens in the movie Cocoon. Spielberg did not have a great story to work with. There's nothing wrong with his direction, but it never quite launches. There are some people that would say the John Landis segment, where the 3 people were killed, I mean, it's the worst historically for that reason, but I actually feel like that one is pretty effective, and unfortunately the Spielberg segment is the weakest of the 4. But Cocoon is a movie about these 3 old geezers who find the fountain of youth, literally. It's not a symbolic fountain of youth. It is almost exactly that. But it doesn't happen in a vacuum, and it is not magic. Brian Dennehy is the leader of a kind of band of aliens who present themselves as regular people. In the immortal words again of Rocky Balboa, we're changing into regular people. Remember Rocky 3, we're changing, or Rocky 4, he's telling Apollo, I don't want to change, I like who I am. So Brian Dennehy plays the leader of this group of people from, well, they're Antarians. They come from a planet called Antaria, which is a great exchange between Brian Dennehy and Steve Guttenberg. Now, Guttenberg could be a little rough with some of his line readings, but Dennehy definitely brought out the best in him. So these people come to this community, and they have these, they look like enormous seed pods, a little Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but they're much bigger. They need a place to store this stuff. We don't know what it is. These huge pod-looking things. And they put them in a pool on the property of this, it's not an old folks home, but it's a kind of a retirement community. And South Florida in 2025, in 1985, there were a lot of transplanted East Coasters, snowbirds, that ended up retiring to Florida. My dad's parents being the closest to me, and they were the closest in age to our principal characters in this film. Well, I guess because the Antarians are not human and there are certain powers that they have or that exist within their sphere, the old folks decide to take a swim in the pool that is housing these weird pods, and all of a sudden, they don't change physically. That's a big difference from what Spielberg did in the segment, I don't remember the name of the segment, in Twilight Zone, the movie. They look the same physically. But if before, let's just say that the Beatus, that Wilford Brimley's character it's more of a hold-up than a stick-up, if you get my drift. Now suddenly he's blue steel, 5 years before the Jamie Lee Curtis movie, but all of a sudden he's got the libido of a 19-year-old boy looking at a porno magazine. Words to that effect. Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy getting it on. And Don Amici, who already was eyeballing the Gwen Verdon character, let's dance, if you know what I mean. Do you want to dance or do you really want to dance? We can make this easy or we can make this real easy. Now, there is also, from a conceptual standpoint, not so much Wilford Brimley or Hume Cronin, but young Don Amici was an exceedingly handsome actor. He was a really good-looking guy within the world of Hollywood where there are so many good-looking people. Gwen Verdon, 40 years earlier, same thing, she was a starlet. So these are things, I watched this movie for the first time on a plane. The worst possible way to see a movie. Roger Ebert, my favorite film critic, used to say that all the time. It is the fucking worst place to see a movie. Well, I watched Cocoon for the first time on a flight to Florida in December of 1985, and I fucking loved it. But this part did not land for 11-year-old me. The idea that Don Amici, 40 years prior, was a matinee idol looking guy. He was a male model looking guy who happened to be a terrific film actor. Gwen Verdon was like a goddess of the day. Now here they are, decades older. But they might be older, but they're not obsolete. They're widowers. They're allowed to start fresh if they want. And the old men getting into this pool, it invigorates them. it actually does have these magical properties. Now, we don't know in the world of the movie, is their life expectancy now different? Is this a little bit like John Frankenheimer's Seconds, where one person becomes another, and now he's got a greater life expectancy, and he doesn't just look like Rock Hudson, he's going to live long? We don't know any of this. The movie doesn't go down that road. It just shows these old fogies suddenly having the zest for life that they maybe haven't had in decades. And the scenes of them enjoying time, I hate to say sexy time, I apologize, but enjoying that with their spouses. We're led to believe that the women were always into it, but the guys just were not. And now suddenly they very much are. And Wilford Brimley has, to me, the highlight of the entire film, because he's so good, and he just looked older than he was. This is Wilford Brimley's first movie after The Natural. He was in his 40s. I think he was 47. Maybe he was 48 when The Natural was shot. He's definitely playing a guy in his mid-60s in The Natural. He just looked older. So in this movie, they maybe gave him a little bit. The mustache is kind of got some gray in it. But they didn't have to do that much to make him look as if he was age appropriate with Don Amici, with Hume Cronin. And the terrific Maureen Stapleton plays his wife in this film. And there's this moment in the movie that I just thought it was funny, but now I would see it. Yes, it's humorous, but it's hitting me at a different angle at my now somewhat advanced age. I mean, I first watched this movie almost 40 years ago. You start doing math, you start thinking in terms of aging. Well, in the world of this film, Maureen Stapleton's character, Horror of Horrors, is taking a shower. She's taking her morning shower, and here comes Wilford. He's all full of you-know-what. He's ready to rock and roll, and he opens the door to the shower, and she's shocked because presumably this hasn't happened since maybe they were in their 30s. I don't know. The way that Wilford says the line, "Would you like a piece of candy, little girl?" Holy shit. She screams. It doesn't sound like that was in the script. It's almost as if Maureen Stapleton was having a real shocked reaction. But man, was that guy great. He was so good, Wilford Brimley. Didn't get the hardware. He didn't have the kind of overall career of Hume Cronin or Don Amici. But wow. You know, and the reason why we call him the Beatus, if you're under 30, you don't know, he used to do commercials for a life insurance company, and he talked about how he had, instead of just saying diabetes, he always pronounced it diabetes. And you could go on YouTube, and there are literally remixes of him on these commercials talking about diabetes. It's great stuff. But he was a fantastic film actor. He should have gotten a supporting actor nomination for The Natural. He is amazing in that film. Holding his own with holding his own with Richard Farnsworth and Robert Redford. It's maybe Redford's best performance ever. And Brimley is great. From the first moment he appears on screen in that film to the last. This is an entirely different performance. The character that he plays, Pop Fisher in The Natural, is a bit of a crank. He's miserable. He's always depressed. He's kind of a loser. The guy in this film, he's a grandfather. And it's the second time in 3 years that the Beatus played a grandpa, because he did it in a movie I talked about from 1983, the movie that Wilford made before The Natural, Tough Enough, with Dennis Quaid as a singing tough man, a boxer who really wants to be a country singer. Or maybe he's a country singer who really wants to be a boxer. But the substance of drama in this film, it comes in areas that we don't, or from areas and angles we don't expect. And there are, again, parallels to Spielberg and E.T., which, I could be honest, E.T. is a better movie than Cocoon, but E.T., there are many people that still have it in Spielberg's all-time top 3. That was another movie that pulls at the heartstrings, but does it in a very natural way by taking the perspective of the young people, not filtering the movie through the mother's perspective or one of the other characters' perspective. It's just beautiful. But the substance of drama in this movie is life force is not infinite. Whether it's our life force or whether it's the life force of the Antarians. And something that also didn't really connect for me as I was enjoying this movie, and even back then, everyone knew Steve Guttenberg was from Plain Edge. He spent a lot of time in Massapequa. He was in the Police Academy movies. Best movie other than this that Steve Guttenberg ever starred in is a thriller from 1986 called The Bedroom Window. Highly recommended. You know, he doesn't look like the kind of guy that could make that sort of a movie work. Very, very good. That might be his best performance. But we don't have infinite life force. And the Antarians don't either. And this isn't something that I was thinking of, and certainly the Brian Dennehy character, I guess he goes by Walter in the movie, he's not imagining that anything bad can happen. He has put these pods where he has for a particular purpose. The thing is, as much as we get the idea that a lot of old people have sort of given up, or that they don't wish they were younger, that they don't care whether or not they're just going to kind of not feel well 100% of the time. That is not correct. And this movie argues vociferously in the other direction. So there are certain people that live with our three intrepid heroes that are beginning to become suspicious. What's going on with you guys? It doesn't necessarily have to come from a place of anger. It could come from a place of jealousy. What's going on here? And they have a fourth friend played by a wonderful actor. Jack Gilford is the actor. And he has a wife who is very spirited, but she's coming to the end of the line. And he doesn't want to take part. They keep inviting him. Will you just have a swim for us? Come on, it's okay. He doesn't want to take part. He feels as if they are cheating nature. We shouldn't be doing this. Or as he puts it, nature gave us our hand of cards. Now we're all here at the end, and you want to reshuffle the deck. When I was a kid, I kind of got his point. I don't get it anymore. He's wrong. Bullshit. He doesn't get to tell anybody when they're allowed to or when they're supposed to give up on living. Come on, get busy living or get busy dying. They're seeing enough death already. I mean, grumpy old men, right? So many different characters that Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, and they're not even that old. They're younger in that movie than these guys are supposed to be in this movie. And this one's dead, that one's dead. Even Clint Eastwood in Absolute Power, say hi to so-and-so, he's dead. Oh, damn. Hey, say hi to so-and-so, he's dead too. Shit. Is everybody dead? Well, when you get to be your age, unfortunately, a lot of people are not going to continue to make it. But the Jack Gilford character, who is seemingly the voice of reason, he's actually not. He's more of a killjoy in this film. And he says a few things which give ideas to the people in this community. It's in that frickin' pool that these guys are swimming in. So many people jump in that pool, and Gilford, the actor, has just a horrible moment where his wife appears to be gone, and he brings her to the pool to try to resuscitate her. And it is a terrible moment. It's one of the saddest moments in the film. I'm sorry for spoiling it. But Brian Dennehy, his performance in that scene, Dennehy's so good, he could have gotten a supporting actor nomination as well. But there is not unlimited life force. These three guys swimming in this pool, no problem. But 50 people? Walter's friends, his kind of countrymen, his fellow Antarians who he brought here, they're not going to make it now. And somehow Dennehy makes us care about him, even though we realize he's a fucking alien. Nobody invited him here. He just showed up here. Yes, he seems like he's benevolent. But you know what? Brian Dennehy could play menace really well, and he did it in that era. The next year, he played a cop in 2 movies. Legal Eagles, which I've talked about on the channel, and FX, which I've also talked about on the channel. Both in the Guilty Pleasure movies column, although FX, I would argue, is not really a guilty pleasure movie. It's just a fantastic film. But Dennehy in this movie straddles the line between heroism and menace, between somebody who is entirely sympathetic to the humans, and maybe we just should not piss this guy off like ever because he seems to be really, really powerful. So I mentioned earlier about this film not being available on streaming. You can't find it anywhere on streaming. You can't rent it on Amazon Prime, and it's very difficult to find on physical media. There were rights issues, and there are ongoing, this seems insane, there are ongoing rights issues with music that was used in this film, and right now, nobody can stream it anywhere. Cocoon The Return, yes, you'll find that all over streaming, but you can't stream Cocoon because reasons. And this is exactly the kind of thing that Christopher Nolan, He was somewhat joking, but he wasn't entirely joking when he made the now infamous comment about evil streaming services. Nolan was arguing we must, no matter where technology goes, it is critical that formats such as Blu-ray, it doesn't have to be Blu-rays, but formats such as Blu-ray and DVD must continue. Because if there is no physical media, there is nothing to stop the evil streaming services from pulling certain films just because they can. And he said it in a funny way, but he wasn't really trying to be funny. Yeah, he made people laugh with that by saying evil streaming services. But because of this, you can't even stream this. You have to find it being aired on TV, and maybe there's a bootleg somewhere. Maybe you have the Blu-ray, maybe you have the DVD, maybe you can rent it still from your local library. But this is a movie that demands to be seen. It is a great film all the way through. It is uplifting, it is heartbreaking, it is life-affirming in the best possible ways. And it's really unfortunate that, I mean, I didn't know this. I just assumed it was on Disney because I think it was a Disney Touchstone production originally. You know, Ron Howard obviously had the background. He did Splash for Disney. But it is a film that it's not a product of its time. There are movies set in the 80s that feel dated, but this is not one of those films. It is a movie that you can revisit every few years, and it'll hit you a little bit differently each time. 7-year-old me enjoying the hell out of it and telling people this is maybe one of the best movies I've ever seen. This is amazing. I didn't have the same reaction seeing it when I was, New York University age, and I didn't have the same reaction seeing it again in my early 40s or more recently. My appreciation has only deepened with time as I understand to a greater extent what it means to get older. Because if you had asked 11-year-old me, can you conceive of yourself 40 years from now? Spoiler alert, you're still going to be around in 2025, kiddo. Can you conceive of... No. I would have shut down that immediately. I didn't want to think about it. I would have been scared. Now, the joke is, of course, I had a lot of things to be scared of, but not in the way that I imagined as a kid. But there is so much beauty in this film. There is so much joy, even with the pain, even with the disappointment. And it is a bit of an unusual structure in that at various points the Steve Guttenberg character appears to be the primary focus. But the real main character is Wilford Brimley's character. And he has these amazing moments with the young actor Barrett Oliver, who had been in Neverending Story, as the grandson. Just great. They feel like grandpa and grandson. I mean, Brimley had such an ease of rapport with fellow cast members in every movie he was ever in. Even in The Firm, where he kind of plays a heel in that film. What do you think, I'm a fucking night watchman? He doesn't seem like an actor when you see, he's cuddly and he's a nice guy. He doesn't look like an actor who would ever deliver a line like, what do you think, I am a fucking night watchman? Just great. That was some stunt casting, making him play a heavy in The Firm. But his moments with Brian Dennehy towards the end of the film, his moments with his grandson, the only character who knows exactly what's going on, and I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen the film, but he lays out for his grandson, here's what we're doing. We have a chance to go somewhere, we won't get any older, and we won't ever die. And he says this with such sincerity, never feels like an actor delivering a line. He feels like a grandfather saying goodbye to his grandson. And the acting is beautiful with both of them. And his moment to console Brian Dennehy's Walter, I mean, you can't do it any better. You got two old pros, unfortunately both gone now, just giving a fucking masterclass in a movie that you wouldn't expect there to be this level of quality of acting. And Amici got the hardware, but I would say that historically, man, Brimley should have won that award, if anybody. And Dennehy had every right to be nominated, or every claim on a nomination, because he is just marvelous in this film. Boy, he was so good. But Cocoon is a movie that has a high rewatchability factor, because it's not about plot mechanics. It's not about twists. The special effects, there is a good blend of CGI and practical effects. It's something we, film fans such as myself, we always look for. The balance between what did they try to do using some computer and what did they do as far as on-set, mechanical, practical kind of effects, makeup work. There is a lot of both in this film. It's really well done, and the Oscar was well deserved. Now, Ron Howard was not going to win Best Director. I mean, Spielberg didn't win for The Color Purple. There was no way that Ron was going to win for this film, but I would argue that this is a better directed movie. The Color Purple, it's not great. It's okay. A lot of people said the recent version of it was better. I don't know. I don't love the movie. It's so depressing. It's so depressing. There are certain really depressing movies like Taxi Driver that I could somehow get into, but I don't know. The Color Purple I found to be a very difficult watch. It just, I don't know. It's always hit me. It's always hit me wrong. But that's neither here nor there. I don't even remember who won the Best Director Oscar for films released in 1985. It should have been Robert Zemeckis. Spoiler alert, it should have been Robert Zemeckis for Back to the Future, but I'm pretty sure that he didn't win. But Cocoon, turning 40 this year, released in 1985, a significant box office hit, unavailable on streaming, and good luck finding it on shelves because they haven't printed any Blu-rays or DVDs in years since this rights issue has cropped up. But it is a movie that you must seek out, and if you have not seen it, I don't know anybody who has watched this film who did not come away feeling enlightened, emboldened, and ready to kick some ass at life, because it just leaves you feeling great. Cocoon, directed by Ron Howard and starring Hume Cronin, Jessica Tandy, Don Amici, Wilford Brimley, Maureen Stapleton, Brian Dennehy, Steve Guttenberg, Jack Gilford, Raquel Welch's daughter Tani, and a whole host of terrific supporting performers. This has been episode 497 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all so much for spending some of your Thursday evening here with me in New York. If you check out this episode on the YouTube channel, haven't done so already, please click like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on those notifications. Or if you catch this episode on the audio platforms such as Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, or the others in which we're hosted, same general rule applies. Click like, subscribe, share, and turn on those notifications. I'll be back with a new episode real soon. Till then,